Greetings. I'm Tyler, a 22-year-old residing just beyond the outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona, currently navigating my final semester at a nearby community college. I hold a part-time job at an auto shop, diligently saving for a car of my own. For now, I get around in a weathered 2008 Corolla, brimming with character despite its lack of speed. Yet, it serves its purpose reliably. I share a home with my mother, just the two of us. My father departed when I was 10, leaving her to single-handedly raise me, climb the ranks at a dental office, and still find time to prepare dinner most evenings. At 45, she radiates a vibrant energy and recently took up yoga, claiming it soothes her back and calms her nerves. A few weeks back, she mentioned a new acquaintance from her yoga class, Vanessa, who's 34, younger than her, but described as warm and witty. She invited Vanessa over for coffee one Saturday, suggesting I meet her. I didn't give it much thought, picturing another middle-aged yoga enthusiast clad in leggings and headbands, perhaps prone to loud chatter about healing crystals. I was utterly unprepared for who arrived that Saturday morning. I was in the kitchen, casually dressed in basketball shorts and a hoodie, grabbing cereal when my mom called from the porch, urging me to come greet our guest. Spoon in hand, I strolled out and stopped mid-step in the doorway. Vanessa defied every expectation. She exuded a refined elegance, fitted jeans, a crisp white blouse, dark hair swept into a loose bun, and subtle makeup that enhanced her natural beauty. Tall and self-assured, her smile wasn't merely courteous. It hinted at a knowing familiarity, as if she already held some insight about me. "Hey, Tyler," she said, extending her hand with a voice that was gentle yet firm. "Nice to meet you. Your mom's shared a lot about you." I shook her hand, striving for nonchalance, but my mind was reeling. I caught myself lingering a moment too long before averting my gaze. She noticed, I'm certain of it, but she said nothing, offering only a faint smile as she stepped inside. They settled in the living room, sipping coffee and discussing a new yoga instructor. I lingered at the table, pretending to fiddle with my phone while stealing glances. Her movements, her speech, the subtle gestures of her hands. She possessed a serene magnetism that drew me in effortlessly, unlike the attention-seeking energy of girls my age. At one point, she caught me staring. Panicked, I dropped my eyes, feigning interest in a non-existent text. Minutes later, I glanced up. She was still watching me, her smile subtle but deliberate. After about an hour, Vanessa announced she had to leave. "It was wonderful, Rachel," she told my mom. "Thanks for the coffee." As she gathered her purse and passed me on her way to the door, I stood, almost instinctively, to say goodbye. She paused, leaned in close, and whispered, so only I could hear, "You really thought I didn't notice how you were looking at me." She slipped a folded note into my hand, smiled once more, and was gone before I could process it. The door closed as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. In my room, I unfolded the note to find her Instagram handle, written in neat handwriting. No emojis, no flourishes, just her name. I sat on my bed, staring at it like it was a rare artifact, unsure if I had the courage to act on it. That night, I opened Instagram, typed her handle, and hesitated over the message button before typing a simple hi. I stared at that single word for a solid 20 minutes before summoning the nerve to send it. It felt absurd, like I was a nervous 12-year-old sending my first DM, but it seemed the safest way to avoid sounding overeager or foolish. To my surprise, she responded in under 5 minutes. Hey, I was wondering when you'd message. My heart raced inexplicably as I typed back, uncertain if I should. Her reply was swift. Well, you did. So what now? That sparked it. A light, casual exchange that felt like an extension of a conversation we'd never had in person. We started with safe topics. I asked about her yoga practice. She inquired about my studies. She shared that she'd left a marketing career post-divorce to freelance and embrace a quieter life. I mentioned my car savings and my loathing for calculus. She responded, "Good. I hate math too. That makes us compatible already." Was she flirting? I wasn't sure, but I couldn't stop smiling. We messaged daily, mornings, afternoons, nights, sometimes just memes, other times deep conversations about life. One evening I asked, "Be honest, why'd you give me your Instagram?" Her reply landed heavily, "Because you didn't blink when you looked at me." That response lingered in me, profound and weighty. A few days later, she initiated contact. Coffee? Not with your mom this time. We met at a quaint, tucked-away cafe on the town's edge. It wasn't officially a date, but my nerves surpassed any I'd felt on actual dates. She arrived in a dark green blouse, hair down, sunglasses lifted as she spotted me, looking even more striking in daylight. "Hey," I said, stiff and awkward. She laughed. "Relax, I don't bite." We ordered drinks and settled into a corner booth. The conversation flowed more easily than I had anticipated. She didn't condescend or treat me like a kid playing at maturity. She asked meaningful questions and listened intently. When I spoke about my dad's departure, she didn't offer pity, just nodded and said, "That explains how you carry yourself. You're cautious." An hour slipped by like mere minutes, neither of us in a hurry to leave. She leaned forward at one point and asked, "Can I ask you something?" I nodded. "Why me? You could have just said hi to be polite. You didn't have to message me." "So why?" I hesitated, then admitted, "Because I couldn't stop thinking about you." She didn't respond immediately, just held my gaze before saying, "Thank you. That's the kindest thing anyone said to me in a long time." As we parted by her car, the moment felt charged, like something, a touch, a kiss, should happen. Instead, she smiled and said softly, "This stays between us." I replied, "For now." She looked startled, then laughed. "You're bolder than I thought." She drove off, waving through the window. That night, I lay awake, her voice echoing in my mind. This stays between us. Our messages grew more frequent, their tone shifting from friendly to something deeper. Late night check-ins, "What are you doing?" or "Wish you were here." One message stood out. "I forgot what it felt like to be seen. You see me. That scares me." I replied honestly, "You scare me too, but in a good way." It became our thing, undefined and secret. No one knew, not my friends, not hers, and certainly not my mom. Each notification from her made me feel more alive, more myself. It evolved beyond messages. Another coffee, a walk, then the first time I picked her up 2 blocks from her house. Like a teenager dodging curfew. I knew how it looked. She was my mom's friend, sort of, though they'd only recently met. Vanessa was from a different world. She'd been married, lived in New York, worked with real clients, and tossed around terms like pivot strategy and brand authenticity effortlessly. Yet her messages turned me into a giddy fool, heart racing, double checking my words before sending. A week after our second coffee, she invited me to her place to help repaint her guest room. I agreed without hesitation, neither of us questioning the implications. She greeted me barefoot, in a paint-splattered white t-shirt and denim shorts, a smudge of blue on her cheek. "You're early," she smiled. "You're covered in blue," I pointed out. "Occupational hazard," she laughed. We spent hours painting, taping corners, moving furniture. It felt normal, safe, until she reached over to fix a missed spot, her hand resting on mine. We froze. No cinematic flourish, just a quiet tension. She stepped back first. "I'm sorry," she said, wiping her hands. "This is complicated." I nodded. "I know." She looked at me intently. "Do you?" I didn't answer, not because I was unsure, but because I understood perfectly. As I left, we stood too close at the door. "This is crazy," she said. "I don't want to stop," I replied. She nodded once, and that was the beginning. We met weekly, sometimes late at night, sometimes before class, orchestrating accidental encounters when my mom invited her over. She'd smile innocently, I'd play oblivious. Behind the scenes, we were building something delicate and risky. She confided about her ex-husband's infidelity and how men her age sought someone less complex. I shared how my last girlfriend made me feel inadequate. Vanessa looked at me and said, "You don't try with me, you just are." That's what I like. One afternoon, in her living room, sunlight catching her cheek, she whispered, "I think about you when I shouldn't." I replied, "I think about you all the time." She rested her head on my shoulder, her hand over mine. We sat in silence for nearly an hour, the moment heavy with unspoken truths. I didn't know if it was sustainable or how long we could hide it, but I cared for her deeply. She made me feel seen, not as a kid, but as a man. I knew I stirred something in her too, something dormant. The tension was constant. One misstep could unravel everything. Some secrets don't shout. They wait quietly. It was a Sunday morning when my mom invited Vanessa over for coffee, noting she'd seemed isolated. Vanessa and I had been texting intensely, our connection no longer just thrilling, but vital. When she arrived, dressed down in a cardigan and jeans, I sensed her nerves. In the living room, I avoided her gaze, which only made my effort obvious. When my mom stepped into the kitchen, Vanessa shot me a fleeting, wordless look, loaded with finality. My mom returned and caught the aftermath, the subtle shift in the air. Her expression didn't change, but I knew she sensed it. That evening, she called me into the kitchen, calm but direct. "How long?" she asked. My stomach sank. "A few weeks," I admitted. She exhaled sharply. "And you didn't think to tell me?" What could I say? That I was falling for her friend? She asked, "Do you love her?" I hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe." She pointed out the age gap. her friendship with Vanessa. I know, I said. Silence hung between us. Then she surprised me. I'm not mad, just hurt. You didn't trust me. I explained I didn't want to disrespect her. She nodded. I need time, Tyler. I'm not saying end it, but I need to process. I told Vanessa everything. She called immediately. What did she say? She's not angry, I said. She needs time. Vanessa replied, I'll talk to her. The next day, she did. I wasn't privy to their conversation, but when I returned from work, my mom was pensive. I never imagined this, she said. Neither did I admitted. She smiled faintly. Life doesn't always ask what we imagine. She hugged me briefly, a gesture of unwavering support. That moment shifted everything. The secret was out. A year later, I still recall that kitchen conversation, the fear, the relief. Vanessa and my mom spoke, and though I don't know what was said, it worked. 2 weeks later, my mom invited us both to dinner, a quiet acceptance. We moved in together 6 months later into a townhouse near my mom's. I graduated, landed a tech coordinator job. Vanessa built a design agency. People noticed. Friends were initially shocked, but saw our genuine connection and stopped commenting. My mom warmed, introducing Vanessa as my son's better half at family events. We married last spring, a simple backyard ceremony. During my vows, I said, You walked into our house like no one else ever had. Vanessa laughed, quoting her first note. You really thought I didn't see the way you looked at me. Now, our life is ordinary. Grocery lists, movie nights, her stealing the covers. I still catch myself watching her, and she'll smile, knowing my thoughts. Love, I've learned, is that quiet understanding. We weren't supposed to happen, but we did, and I wouldn't change a thing.